Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Vanessa. In today's video, we're gonna do kind of like a weekly wrap up. I know that I'm a little bit behind because today is actually the 18th of January and it's not quite a 7-day wrap up or even a 14-day wrap up, but you know, we're kind of creeping into 3 weeks. So I just wanted to kind of give you guys a little wrap up of how my past week went for me, especially doing Winterween, and I want to talk a little bit about just some of the books that I read even right before Winterween. This is my third time reading this book, and on my third reread, I think I have lowered my rating. It initially was maybe like a 5-star. I think the second time around it might have been a 5-star, but then since I've read this book twice, I read other fantasy books, and I think that I've found some things I like more and then some things that I found to be better in terms of the writing. So I've lowered my rating a little bit. Still had a good time, but I think that I landed on a 4.5 this go around. Then I pressed on with Iron Flame, and I think the first time around I gave this book a 4-star. This was my first reread of the book, so my second time total reading it, and I ended up giving this 3.5 stars because it kind of dragged a lot throughout the book. There were a lot of moments where it like went up and then it went down, and we would be slow up. Oh my gosh, we're going high in the sky, right? And then it would slow down. So it was a lot of like roller coastering, but I would say the last 20% of this book was a lot. There was a lot going on. So very, very excited for Onyx Storm coming out in just a few days. So that was my little preparation for Onyx Storm. Then Winterween hit, and one of my best friends, Sarah, wanted to do a buddy read with me, and we decided to buddy read Lights Out by Nevessa Allen, and we had a really good time. I rated this book 4 stars. I really, really like Josh and Fred. If you don't know who Fred is Alyssa's cat. So Josh definitely had a lot of really cute quotes and cute lines that were like, save the baby, take care of our child, just like lots of things that were related to Fred being their baby. And I would say there were some things that were a little cringy. Like there was a lot of my ovaries talk. Like Alyssa was like, oh, my ovaries, like the way that he says this, I'm like swooning, my ovaries this, my ovaries that. And I was like, all right, I'm over this. Like, I get it. You want him to put a baby in you. Okay. So that was like the only cringy thing that I was like, not such a big fan of that. But overall, I really liked the banter in the book. It didn't live up to the banter of Butcher and Blackbird, which I really, really liked, but that was also maybe darker. This one kind of felt more like a cinnamon bun stalker romance kind of thing, which it worked. It worked for Josh's character. Next up, I did read Malice House by Megan Shepherd. This was one of the books for my horror bingo TBR, so very excited that I crossed another one off the list. I think this was my second one. I did read Bury Your Gaze right at the very end of December because I was trying to fulfill the read a book that came out in 2024, and then the hard mode was to finish that book in 2024. So I did it like down to the last hour of 2024. But anyways, I read Malice House, and this was really interesting. This is the first book in the Malice House compendium. It follows Haven, and she goes to her father's house, Malice House, to kind of like clean up the house. He's just passed away. Her father was a very famous author, and he wrote like lots of horror stories. Haven is also very talented. She's an illustrator. So while she's at her father's house, she finds a book called Bedtime Stories for Monsters, and she decides that she's going to illustrate it, and she wants to see if she can get this book published somehow. But some of the townspeople that were friends with her father just kind of like laughed her off. Weird stuff starts happening. Bodies start turning up. Her creations are coming to life, and now we're trying to figure out, is it her that is bringing these things to life? Was it her father's just writing about them? Like, she knows she is cursed. Her father has told her she's cursed, but we don't know why, like what has kind of happened. You do start to find out more. There were some good twists in this, and I'm very excited to read the second book, which is called Midnight Showing. So I don't know when I'll get to that one, but I did get an arc of it, so I'm gonna have to read it at some point. It is already published at this point, but I'll get to it eventually. So I'm glad I got to read this though. And my final book for Winterween was My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. So I have a couple of thoughts about this one. I rated this 3 stars. And I will say that I did like the plot overall. Like the whole storyline of getting to know Gretchen and Abby when they were younger, just sticking through with each other, through tough times, growing up together, Gretchen getting taken over by a demon, and Abby trying to figure out how to exorcise this demon. Like, that whole plot was fantastic. I don't know if Grady Hendrix writing is necessarily something that I'm like gravitated towards, but I wouldn't mind trying to like read more of his works. One thing that kind of rubbed me the wrong way with this book, I think it's appropriate for the book to rub me the wrong way in 2025 because I'm an evolved human. Like, I'm sensitive to culture, racism kinds of things, LGBTQ, like all of those issues. And there were a couple of things in this book that just didn't sit right. However, I will say that they were accurate to the times because this book is set in like 1982, I believe, and they would say things like love you dearly but not queerly. They would say things like they had a spirit week and one of the days was a slave day, and you basically would pay a certain amount to buy somebody a slave for the day, and they had to do whatever you told them to do, and all that money like went to, I don't know, the schools, one of the school's committees of some sort. There was some other quote in here too about, I guess the girl was like looking really skinny and she said, you're like looking like an Ethiopian. And I was like, okay, we don't say this in 2025. And if you say this, you need to do some DEI training or something because I don't know, like we don't do these things, but I understand that was like what was going on at the time. So that was kind of like some of the stuff that rubbed me the wrong way. Did it need to be in this book? Probably not. It's tough because like I really tried to take a step back from that because I know like if it were 1982 right now, people might not have an issue with that. Like it was so commonly used back then. I'm not saying this is acceptable. It was so commonly used back then that it's reflective of the time period. So I feel like the book puts you in that setting. It doesn't have an impact on my rating in that regards. Like I didn't say, oh my gosh, I'm gonna DNF this book, it's problematic. Definitely was problematic back in that time period. But for today's day and age, I think that Grady Hendrix did a good job writing the book. Like that's not the issue. I just felt like it was kind of meh overall. Like it didn't really wow me. I didn't hate it either. So very interesting read though. Had some controversial kind of things to talk about during sprints this week, which by the way, I want to say thank you to everybody who joined during sprints for Winterween because it was fantastic having you all show up. Thank you to everybody who has subscribed to me recently. I really, really appreciate you all. And I can't wait to hang out some more in some nearby sprints. So that was kind of like all I've read so far this month. I would like to do some weekly wrap-ups. I don't know how consistent I can be going forward just because my work schedule is crazy busy, but I will try my best to at least do something, even if it's like a 5-minute check-in or something. I don't know if I can promise a vlog all the time, but I had a great time reading these books and haven't quite found a 5-star just yet. But I'm very hopeful. I'm crossing my fingers that I do. Anyways, if you got to the end of this video and you don't have anything else to say, leave me a spooky emoji, maybe like a ghost or even a house, because that was kind of like the theme of Winterween this week. We had like books with houses on the cover or in the title and things like that. But yeah, I had a great time. Thank you so much, Gabby, again, for being the creator of Winterween, putting on such fun events all the time. I love participating. Don't forget before you guys go to like this video, subscribe if you're not already, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye!